Hello everybody, this is Shakti in front of you, and today again I am with a new topic, and the topic is very important topic. Now before starting the topic, let me tell you that please subscribe the channel and hit the bell icon, and do share it with maximum of your friends. So let's begin. Now today's topic is interview preparation, or how to prepare well for any job interview. Now, if I talk about experts also, so they are having butterflies in their stomach when we talk about job interviews. Now, one thing you need to understand that preparing for any job interview is very important. Now, I am going to tell you 4 P's which you need to do in any job interviews beforehand. Now, so let's start. So those all 4 P's are, the first P is, now this first P again is very important, and you need to understand what is this first P. So the first P is preparation. So if you are going for any job interviews, before that, first of all, you need to do the preparation for it. Now, the question comes here is, what preparation we are going to do? So the answer for this is the preparation for the company you are applying. For example, if you are applying for any multinational companies, or be it any company, right? So what preparation you have to do is do research on that particular company. Now, that research you can do with the help of Google it, and go through each and every information related to that company. Now if I talk about the information, what all information you have to go through, then you can go through that whole company and you can search that what all business that company is dealing with, then what is the vision and mission of that company, when it was established, and which all places it is having branches, and more or less what the company deals with. Apart from this, one thing which is very important, which also you need to do, is that if you are applying in any company, then the job profile which you are applying for, do go through that job profile and see that what all skills are required over there in that job profile, in that particular job profile. Now, after going to those skills, you jot it down on a sheet of paper that do those skills match to your skills or not. If not, then practice well. Jot it down those skills and try to match them with your personality traits, as well as try to match them with your strengths as well as weaknesses. Now these things if you are doing, then you are preparing well for any of the job interviews. Now one thing I would like to tell you, that while doing preparation, keep one thing in mind, that the skills which the job profile is demanding, if you're going through those all skills, then try to inculcate those skills in yourself. Apart from this, whenever the question is asked in any interview, then try to tell those all skills which the job profile demands, right? So this you need to understand. So the first P over here is preparation. You need to prepare well for the job profile and for the company which you are applying in. Now this was the first P. Moving towards the next P, that is the second P, and the second P is, that is, you need to do practice. Now, first I have told you, you have to prepare for that job profile and you have to prepare for that company. Then second thing is, you need to do practice well. Now, how you are going to do this practice is again a big question. Now see, for practice, let me tell you that this we all know, that practice makes man perfect. And if we are going in any interview, before that we are very much nervous, right? So to remove this nervousness, to remove that fear, that terror of facing any interview, we need to do perfect practice. Now, practice makes man perfect, that is understood, but we need to do here perfect practice. Now, how we are going to do that perfect practice, right? So everybody knows there are few common questions which are asked in the interviews. Like for example, we know that first and foremost question which will be there in the interview, which will be in any of the interviews, is tell me something about yourself or introduce yourself. And I have already told you how to answer this question, and you will find that in the below in the link also, that how to introduce yourself. I'll provide that link. Go through that link. So this we all know that few common questions are there in the interviews which we need to practice. So that's what I'm telling you, is you have to practice very well those all common questions. Then how to answer them effectively. So those things you need to do. And now the question comes is how you are going to practice those all questions. So the first technique is a mirror technique, that we all know. It is very easy. You have to stand in front of mirror and you just have to imagine that the person or your mirror image only, you need to imagine that the person who is next side is interviewer and you are interviewee. So you need to imagine like this and ask those common questions and try to answer them, right? This way your confidence level will improve, your communication will also improve, your fear will go away, and your thought process will also improve. Now this is the first technique which you can do in practice. Now if we talk about the second technique, then what you can do is you can ask your teachers, your trainers, or your family members or your friends that they behave like interviewer, and you as an interviewee try to answer those all questions which are asked by them, right? So this is the second method of practicing. So the second P is practice. So this way you need to practice well for an interview. Now if we move towards the third P, so the third P is, which is again very important, that is punctuality. Now this punctuality, what is the meaning of this punctuality over here? So you need to understand that if you are going for any interview, then you need to be punctual, right? Now punctuality here means be on time. If you are going in any of the interview, be on time. And if suppose there is any problem and you are not able to go on time in that particular interview, then inform the interviewer prior that you are facing some problem and you will be a little bit late in that interview, right? So this you need to share with the interviewer and be punctual over there. So punctuality plays an important role over there in an interview. Now that was the third P. Moving towards the fourth P, and the fourth P is, now again this fourth P is very, very, very important. So the fourth P is presentation. Now you have prepared well, you have practiced well, your punctuality is good, then the fourth P comes over here is, that is, I have told you it is very important, and that fourth P is presentation. Now it is the time to win the battle, and how you are going to do it is, you need to present yourself over there in a perfect manner. The presentation part should be one of the best part over there. Now what all things are there in your presentation is, the first thing is your body language, the way you put up over there in front of interview, the way you put up yourself, your dressing sense, your eye contact, your gesture, everything is very important, tells your presentation. Now the second part of presentation is, if the interviewer is asking the question, then how perfectly, how confidently, how by using your body language, your gesture, your proper eye contact, you are able to answer those all questions which is being asked in the interview. So that comes under presentation, that is the fourth P. Now we have discussed these four P's. Now I'll tell you one thing which is very important to tell in the interview, or to know before going in any of the interviews, is that, see, suppose you have done these four P's, right? Now it's chance to go in an interview, to face any interview, any job interview in your life. Now if you are facing any job interviews in your life, then also 4 questions you need to understand. Now what are those 4 questions? So I'll be telling one best example, because this we all know that first and foremost question which is asked in any of the interviews is, tell me something about yourself. So I'll be taking this example only and I'll be explaining you, and this example will be valid for all the questions which is asked in the interview. You need to relate that, right? Now see, if you're going in any of the job interviews, if you are knowing these 4 questions, the answer of these 4 questions, then for sure you will be never deprived of any job. Try and understand. You will always get selections over there wherever you are going for the job interview. Now the question comes here is, what are those 4 questions, right? So those 4 questions are, if suppose I'm telling you that tell me something about yourself. Now the question is, either it will be tell me something about yourself or introduce yourself, right? So 4 things you need to understand. The first question is what to say, right? So if this question is asked, tell me something about yourself, then you need to understand, or if any question is asked in the interview, job interview, then you need to understand then that what to say. Now if I talk about this question only, so 2 ways are there to introduce yourself. The first way is your personal introduction, and the second way is your professional introduction, right? So in your personal introduction, you can tell about your family background, about your father, mother, but in your professional introduction, these things are not that much necessary and you don't need to say, unless those things are related to the job profile, right? For example, your father is a software engineer, right? And you are also applying in one of the multinational companies, that is you're applying for software engineer only. Then over there in your self introduction you can mention that my father is a software engineer and got inspired by my father, and now I also want to become a software engineer, right? But if your father is a farmer, then and you want to be a software engineer, then over there saying that my father is a farmer and I want to be a software engineer, over there this you don't need to share. You have to understand this thing, right? So I have already told you these two things, that how to tell about yourself in a personal way as well as how to introduce yourself in a professional way, right? I've already made the video for these two things. You can go through those videos. Now, moving towards the next question. This was the first question, what to say, right? Now moving towards the next question, which is again important, and this you need to understand very well. So the second question is when to say, right? If the question is asked, be it any question, if the question is asked, then you need to understand first that when to say. Sometimes what happens, students, they are very much eager because they have practiced well, they have practiced a lot, and they have practiced those all common questions which are being asked in the interviews, right? So the interviewer, if he is asking any question, then the student, they try to instead of understanding that question, because they have practiced a lot, so they listen maybe 3-4 words of that question and they try to answer, right? So I understand that shows your confidence level, but then again one thing you need to understand, that you have to respect the interviewer, right? Let him or her complete the question first, understand, take your time, and then answer that question with confidence, right? Do not interfere the interviewer in between and do not answer. So the second part, that is when to say, is very important. You don't need to interfere the interviewer if he or she is asking any question. Let him complete first. Listen very carefully what the question is being asked and try to answer that answer only which the question demands, right? Do not answer anything else apart from that question, right? So these things you need to understand. So when to answer, let him complete first and then you try to answer. Now this was the second question which you need to understand, right? This is for, in general, it is for all the questions. Now the third question is how to answer, right? Now this is again very important, how to answer. So how to answer, for this few things I would like to tell you. That first of all, you have to answer with confidence. Any answer you are giving, you have to give that answer with confidence. Now you need to understand that there is difference between confidence and overconfidence, right? There is difference between confidence and overconfidence. So give the answer with confidence. Do not give the answer with overconfidence. Because if you are giving any answer with overconfidence, then that could be false also, and the interviewer could think that you are bluffing over there. So you don't need to do that thing. You don't need to say anything which is irrelevant, which is wrong, right? So give the answer with confidence. Now how to answer? So you can use gestures, you can use your hand movement while answering the question, then use proper eye contact with the interviewer. Sometimes what happens, normally this happens in an interview, that students, if they're answering any question, then they look like this and then they answer, right? So this is wrong way of answering, right? Try to put your eye contact with the interviewer only. Do not look here and there and think. Do not do this thing, right? If you're doing like this, then it simply shows your lack of confidence. Try and understand. It simply shows your lack of confidence. This you don't have to do. Okay? Now, one thing which I want to tell you people, which is very important again, that in this how part only, that whatever things you are saying should be proper, and it should not be irrelevant, right? It should be related to that topic only, right? So how to say, right? One more thing you need to keep in mind in this only, how to say, is if some question is like, for example, the question interviewer is asking is, how well you work under pressure, right? If this is the question, then how you need to answer this question is, you can say that working under pressure or without pressure, both the things are equal for me, right? And then you can relate real life example. This is very important again. You can relate real life example and then you can give the example, and you can say that, sir, while working on one of my project, we were there in team, 5 members were there in my team, and we were really working hard, but the time of submission was very near and everybody was stressed out. So I told everybody that we will prioritize the work and we will work accordingly. We did the same. We work late nights and we completed our project before the time and submitted it also. So yes, working under pressure and without pressure, both the things are just same for me, right? So this way you can relate one real life example also, if any question is asked and if you can relate that. So how to answer, how to give the answer of that question, right? So this was the third thing. The first thing was what to say, second was when to say, third was how to say, and the fourth and very important is how much to say. Now this you need to understand, how much to say. See, normally what happens, if the question is asked, like if the question is related to your project, that the question will surely be asked from your project as well as from your internship, right? So if the question is asked from your project part and if you are answering, right? So one thing you need to understand, that you will not answer in like it is going for 30 minutes, right? For so long. This way you don't have to answer. You have to answer to the point and provide that much material to the interviewer so that he or she could answer, he or she could ask questions related to that thing only, right? So this is the first thing you need to understand, that you don't have to speak a lot. Second thing is, you don't have to speak less also, right? Sometimes what happens, students, they try to answer in single syllable. That is also wrong. If the question is asked, do not answer in single syllable. Why? Because you are not providing enough matter to the interviewer so that he or she could ask question related to that thing, right? Then what happens? Then the interviewer will ask his or her question, and then at that time it will be difficult for you to face that interview, and maybe you will not be able to answer those all questions, right? So always try to put the ball in your court only, right? So whenever you are providing any information, try to put that ball in your court only, so that the questions which is asked over there in the interview should be related to those things only which you have just shared, right? So this thing you need to understand. Now, one thing very important I will like to tell you is those 4 P's which I have told you, try to practice them. And apart from this, these 4 questions which I have told you, try to practice these questions also very well. And if you are doing these things, then for sure I can tell you, I can assure you then that very easily you'll be able to crack any interviews. So that's it for today. Do subscribe and share it. Thank you very much.